Welcome back to our restoration project. Today our project is getting a new hood. Okay, so we're going to take on the hood today, and we're going to do this in a little bit unconventional fashion, same as we did the engine deck lid. So what we're going to do, Dad's going to come over again today and give us a hand with this. We're going to tape up this valance edge here and also on the back of the hood. We're going to jack the car up. My intention is to crawl underneath the gas tank area, crawl into this area here, and then secure the hinges from the inside of the trunk area, providing I can fit in there. We haven't tried it yet, but we're going to give it a shot. If we can do that, that should eliminate all the risk and the wrestling match with trying to hold the hood up. We got a heavy hood, we're trying to hold under here, trying to hold it like this and bring all, it's difficult. I've tried this several times in primer stage, and it's really quite a process to install one of these hoods safely. So we've got finished paint now. We need to try something a little bit different. So first we'll take the hood, set it on our nice soft stand, upside down. We're going to put the interior lights in there. We're going to run the wiring harness and tap out our holes. Then we'll bring it out here, set it in place, and see how it goes. Okay, so just getting started here. So what I'm doing is I'm jacking the car up and setting just the front section only on these race ramp 10-inch blocks. These are real nice to work off of. They allow me to jack the car up, keep the tires on without having to work around jack stands. So I got a lot more crawl space area with these, and get a lot more height out of it and stability while I'm working on the hood. So looking at the initial setting then we'll want to do for our hinges to the car. So our base plate, when we mount it to the car, we're going to want to make sure that the base plate is all the way forward as we can get it and all the way up as we can get it before we snug these bolts down. We don't want to tighten these too much. We just want them tight enough to bite, but eventually we're going to have to wiggle this hinge here a little bit back and forth, up and down, to get it to settle in exactly where we need it. If we're too far down and too far back, we could end up with rubbing on the paint here, which would not be a good idea. So all the way up and all the way forward is our first initial setting, and that would be for both hinges. Okay, so we got our first set back here. Not going to be able to install these lenses into the hole here. So what's happening is the actual cutout size, this is a new hood, replacement hood from Porsche. This is a typical problem you're going to run into anytime you buy an aftermarket part or even a replacement Porsche part 50 years later. If you don't check absolutely everything, something could be dimensionally incorrect. So in the case of this hole for our lens here, this will not go down in the hole by about 1.5 millimeters all the way around. By looking at the way this lens is designed, I'm not going to be able to take it off the lens. So as much as I don't want to do it, I'm going to have to shave the inside of this hole about 1.5 millimeters all the way around on both holes, or we're not going to get our lights in there. All right, I'll set up here ready to go. Everything is wrapped up, sealed, and also I've got the hood taped down to our stand in case it starts moving around while I'm working with it. So looking at our hole there, you can see that black line around the edge there. Here's what we got to get to. So whatever material is showing inside this trim, we're going to have to completely remove it because that lens slips through this trim. All right, and this would be my tool of choice here, basically just using a Dremel with a tapered cutter. And the reason I want a tapered cutter on that is because I want to try and bevel coming this direction here. If I lay back on the paint, I have less chance of the paint peeling or heating up and peeling. Problem with cutting metal now after finished paint is if you get the metal too hot, it'll start lifting the paint. So we gotta be real careful how we shave that back. So I think if we shave with a bevel and then go in and take the meat out, we'll be successful. I think that's going to work. Plenty of adjustment in there, and we can get to our screw holes no problem. All right, I think we're going to be okay now. So we got it all cleaned up, and then I just ran a little bit of our seam sealer around that just to seal up that edge, and also the edge of the paint. That'll help it stop from ever wanting to curl back up. Okay, that's our configuration for the driver's side, and then this wire here is going to come underneath and pull through there. All right, I think we're going to be okay now, so very carefully we're going to move this back in with the car. All right, so Dad's on his way over. We're all staged and ready to go here. Using a white towel just so I can see once I get inside this area in here. It's going to be real dark in there. I got some lighting set up. White towel should help show up all my tools as I need to. So what the plan is, Dad and I are just going to grab one side each of the hood here, walk it up onto the rubber seal, and set it in place. Being mindful of the back fascia to back of hood, we're going to try and set it up with about 5 millimeters. We're going to start there first, then I'm going to crawl in underneath and try to secure those bolts through the hinges into the hood. We got Dad back in the booth today. Dad, you ready to do this?
Yeah, sure am.
All right, let's do it. Bring yours in a little bit tighter. Right there. All right, let's try that. All right, looking at our passenger side hinge, so we got our wires taped coming through this indent here. We're going to start our first bolt up in here. And this back edge here, we're actually going to have to use a, like we did on our engine cover, a real thin rubber washer. Stick that in there because we're touching here. We have a little space in there. We'll start with that one. That should be enough. Front one in first. All right, finger tight on both of them, and then we'll do the other side. On the driver's side, we got a few more things to work around, so it's a little bit tighter in here. But we're going to have the same issue. We're touching up the front here. A little bit of space back here. We're going to put a rubber washer in there also. And that should do it for that one. Let's go ahead and get that in there. So on the driver's side here, a little bit more difficult than the passenger side. I can get the front bolt in, no problem. And I can get the rubber spacer in the rear, no problem, but I can't get my fingers in there around the back side of this hinge to get that started. But I think we'll be fine with one bolt cinched down in the front here and the 2 bolts fastened down on the passenger side. That should be enough where we can open the hood then safely and secure the other bolt. Okay, so we got 3 bolts finger tight. This is what our passenger side gap looks like. I think that should be a safe distance there. And driver's side also plenty of clearance, and looks like we got plenty of side to side there. So I'm going to go in one more time and just snug those down so that when we open the hood doesn't slide on the hinges. Okay, so we got 3 bolts secured, I think tight enough so we can open the hood now. Dad, why don't you go ahead and raise the hood up and down a little bit. We can show the clearance that we got going on here. So I think no problem. So what we're going to do now, since we're secure and it looks like we're going to clear, we're going to set the car back down on the ground. Then we're going to open the hood fully and secure our struts. So this is the bolt here. That's trouble to get to. Easy to get to it from the outside, but from the inside, tough to get your hand in there. All right, slowly closing the hood. Once we have our struts in place, that kind of changes everything. So where the hood is above grade to our fascia. So how we're going to lower that, we're going to loosen the bolts on the inside of the body and drop the hinge down. Okay guys, so we got her in place. Dad has to take off and go do some things. So we'll go ahead and finish it up from here. Dad, thanks a lot for the help.
You're welcome.
Looks great. Okay. Starting to look like a real car. Okay, so then moving on, let's install our hood light switch. So what I'm doing here, I'm just crimping down and soldering the new end in here. I'm using a new light switch. And the reason I'm using a new light switch, here's the old original, was in really nice condition. But they had the lead soldered to this end here. And trying to heat that up hot enough to get that solder to break loose. The spring actually expanded in there. It's like a copper spring, and ruined the switch. So no way to get that apart and repair it. So I have to use a new switch. This one's by Euro, and real nice switch. Looks just like the factory original. A little bit stiffer spring in there, so it can withstand the heat of soldering. If you don't solder it, probably what's going to happen when you go to thread this in here, you could break that loose inside, you wouldn't know it, and your hood lights are not going to work. So I'm going to put a little anti-seize paste on here also, and then thread her in. Main thing is it just doesn't twist while we're trying to seat this bolt. Okay, so let's take a look and see how everything's secure. So we've got our hood light switch, that's going to come down on our stop right here. And then wiring harness is going to come out the side and down the hinge, clip on top, wrap underneath, you're going to have a clip on the bottom, and then the white lead is going to plug into the white lead for the main harness on the car. And then next we'll go ahead and put our rubber stops in place. Okay, so then moving on to our hood latch. So I'm inside the trunk now looking at the set screw and length of cable here. So that length of cable in relation to that set screw is critical in making all this work out. I'm going to go ahead and pull this slightly taut and set that screw. Let's start with that setting first, and then we'll go ahead and try our hood latch before we attach it to the hood. All right, so then it would just come down and seat in there. Let's go ahead and press. Okay, it's going to latch. And then let me simulate pulling the cable from the inside. Okay, that's going to work. Okay, just snugging that down. And then just slight movement in there, just so we can get it to line up on our strike. Right about there, I think is good. It looks like we're lined up about where we need to be. Let me tighten those down and we'll try and get it to latch. All right, looking good. So everything seems to be working really well and adjusting out pretty much where we need to have it. So we're about as far as we can take this adjustment-wise for this part of the installation. We still have some micro adjusting to do, and we'll be doing that once we get our fenders in place and our bumper installed. All that will kind of work together as far as spacing and gaps and how far down we want to adjust the hood latch. Okay, looking at our new replacement badge from Porsche here. So this one here has the orange bars and going with a new rubber seal on the back side. And our original here, patina, looking really cool and has weathered over the years really nicely. Real cool to look at, but I think for our restoration, really a new replacement badge is more appropriate. And then how that installs just goes down through the holes in the hood and use these twist nuts here. This is a compression type sealant on the back here. It's not actually a firm rubber, so what's going to happen when we twist that down, the rubber type sealant material is going to compress, ooze out the sides, and you just trim that off. All right, let's slide it in place, see what she looks like. Okay guys, so there we go. There's our hood safely installed, and definitely coming in from underneath made this job a whole lot easier and a lot safer. Not having to worry about chipping any paint on our front fascia. We're not having to work over fenders. Definitely an easy way to set it up and get you through a hood installation if you're working with finished paint. Also, I'm going to go back through all my videos from the very first one right up to current time to make it simpler on you guys. I'm going to put a store link in the video description down below on every video. That way, if you're using a video to reference for a certain scope of work on the car, there's something in the video, some kind of lubricant, adhesive, or some kind of special tool I'm using, very good chance it's going to be in that store. You can just click the link on, go right to it. Should make it a lot easier for you. Well, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.